What's the most hurtful thing you've overheard about yourself by accident? My wife had a falling out with some friends of mine that she met through me. We had known them a long time, but I had known them for much longer. I was upset with her one night because they were always asking why she never came around anymore, but she absolutely refused to see them. I always thought it was because of this little side business project they went into together that didn't work out. So, I'm driving my wife somewhere, and I just start getting upset with her that she won't make up with them and move past it like they did, and it sucks that she never comes with when I go over there. So, she finally broke and told me the truth. Every time she went over there without me, they would talk shit about me, putting down my personality, my humor, and much more. I guess they thought she would be okay with it, like a joking haha my husband can be such a insert something, right? But she wasn't okay with it. She's not a confrontational person, so she never really spoke up, but she was disgusted by the way they spoke about me behind my back, and refused to have anything to do with them. She had been letting me think it was all her fault, and she took it, because she knew the truth would hurt my feelings. And it did. Went out to a bar with some friends for a birthday party for my ex-girlfriend. She really messed me up when she left me, like really bad, but I was trying to be nice, since she invited me, so I figured I'd go out, and be there for a drink or two. So, a mutual friend who had been broken up with a few days before and was there, so as I made the rounds, I talked to her, and tried to do whatever I could to let her know it would be okay. I'm no therapist, but I did my best, you know. I knew what a bad breakup felt like, as I was also going through one, so I tried to help. Anyways, after I left the table, I overheard her talking to my ex at the bar about me trying to give her advice, and she said, "Well, nobody has ever loved him, so what does he know about any of this?" And they started laughing. Don't think they know I heard, but I grabbed my coat immediately, and took a long walk home. I don't need people like that in my life, haven't willingly seen either of them since. What an amazing surprise to wake up to this morning. Thank you all for the wonderful words of encouragement and support, and the medals. Truly my greatest gift this year. I read every comment. Life is a learning experience, thank you for sharing it with me. Merry Christmas. My mum has hated me for years, she said it a lot, but when I left, because I couldn't put up with it anymore, she wants me to come back. For example, today, Christmas, she tried to lure me back by doing all the things I've wanted to do, and by overspoiling my siblings, and then she's like, "Oh, I bet you got nothing from your poor father." She doesn't even know that Christmas is on a different date where I live now. When I was in middle school art class, something funny happened, and I let out a loud laugh. I then overheard one of my childhood best friends whispers to another person, "God, I hate TRADER 2488's laugh." I immediately looked at him and said, "What?" And he just looked down at the table like he didn't hear me. This actually made me change my laugh. It's completely different from what it used to be. Well, Jesus Christ, that was quite the Christmas surprise, haha. I forgot about this comment, and just saw how many upvotes it has. In a reverse, my grandma was Japanese, and I'm a girl, so she hated my guts and basically ignored my existence for the entire time I knew her, 19 years. When she died, a lot of her church friends at the funeral came up to me and talked about how much she loved me, and how she'd talk about me almost every day. I was like, what to those confused? She was full-blooded Japanese and moved over from Japan to be with my grandpa. She was very abusive to my aunt, physically and mentally, but doted on my father. When I was born, she came to the hospital, found out I was a girl, told my dad maybe the next one will be a boy, and left. Also, thank you all for the kind words. I was copied into an email conversation, where about 10 messages earlier one of my employees had described me as an idiot and suggested to the recipients that they didn't get me involved in the situation they were discussing. I'd always thought we got on well, and it knocked my confidence. Skin now, but this happened many years ago, when I was quite new to management. I eventually talked with the lady who sent the email, and she was extremely embarrassed and apologetic. Then when we talked more, it came out that one of her colleagues was spreading shit about me, and she hadn't questioned what was being said. It took months to get rid of the real problem causer. This wasn't in the USA, it's difficult to fire people where I am, and the real confidence crusher was knowing that he was poisoning the well that whole time. Things were much better once he was gone. I had just moved into my dorm for my second year of college. My roommate was my best friend since 9th grade. My stuff hadn't arrived yet, and it was my time to register, so I asked him if I could use his computer. He said sure. I sat down, and he had aim open to a conversation with another friend of ours. I didn't scroll up, but from what was just visible on screen, they were talking about how weird I was, and how awful it would be rooming with me. I closed it, so he wouldn't realize later I'd seen it, registered, and left. We still lived together that year, but we didn't hang out at all. We just cohabited. I never asked him to hang out as friends, he never asked me. Move-out day, that year was the last time we spoke. That was over 10 years ago. We chatted every day for 6 years, then haven't spoken since. I still don't know if I did, or said something to flip, how he felt about me, or if he never really liked me to begin with. The possibility of the latter really fucks up your future friendships. Hell, the former does too, knowing apparently, you're capable of unknowingly saying, or doing something to throw away a 5-year friendship. I've been kinda messed up the last 7 minutes, because my BFF of 15 years just stopped talking to me. Don't know if I did something wrong, or what. We live in different states, but talk 5 days a week and visited often. All of a sudden, she stopped answering when I called. Who does that to a person they've supposedly cared about? Definitely makes me question a lot of things. How good of a friend I am, how I choose friends, do I attract shitty people? Made me isolate myself further over the summer. Will I even try to have friends? My dog likes me, I'll stick with that. I've had this happen at my work as well. Plus, people saying I'm a fuck up. I've only fucked up things that everyone else has admitted to also fucking up before. I'm under the impression all my coworkers are just dicks, because I try to keep to myself, do my work and go home. They always talk shit about the cars I buy and bring to work too. I don't understand why, it's none of their business, what I do in my free time. I buy and sell cars. I have new to me cars every other week. They tell me I'm an idiot for buying them, but I'm just doing the maintenance, and cleaning them up to sell them for a profit. And maybe make someone happy, and sell them their dream car. My first gold. I don't even know what to do with it. When my oldest sister died, my older sister was crying to my mother about how she felt alone. My mother was trying to reassure her and said, "You still have Aunt Vixen though." But my sister said, "Who cares about her? I want oldest sister back." I kind of get it, but this was around the same time my mother told me to my face that it should have been me who died instead, because I don't have a husband or kids like my oldest sister did. It seemed like absolutely no one wanted me in my family and they all wished I could have switched places with the one we lost. People wonder why I'm depressed now. Wow, this blew up. Just wanted to add to everyone telling me not to speak to my mother anymore. Well, joke's on her, she died about a decade ago. My oldest sister died in 2008, my father in 2010, my mother in 2012. All of alcoholism. I'm just a bachelor orphan with no family now. Well, I have my older sister, but we're pretty estranged after her coke habit and money stealing days, which is good and also bad, especially on Christmas. My mother never apologized to me, and ended up getting even more abusive as time wore on. I eventually moved out of the house, and went to live with an abusive boyfriend. In the last 5 years ago though, I've moved down south, and after many trials and tribulations, many of them, I now have my own apartment and 2 beautiful cats. I'm completely alone other than that though, which is even more depressing, but waking up to see my inbox explode, and the gold silver and everyone wishing me well is really helping me to get through Christmas Day, the most depressing day of the year for me. Love to you all. I went to school with a black eye and busted nose from my dear old dad. Child Services was called to do a home check. My dad and mom told the worker I'd done it to myself, and I was suicidal, and that I'd written in my diary that I wanted to kill my little brother. I didn't even have a diary, and of all the people I was close to, my little brother was number 1. It got me a blacker eye, and an involuntary stay in a locked ward. I bailed ASAP. Background: I'm 12 years younger than my older sisters, and I was unplanned. At age 7, I overheard my mom crying and saying I was the reason she didn't love my dad anymore, we were poor, why she isn't happy, and that she didn't want to be a mom anymore. She said she didn't know how to love someone who ruined her entire life. It was Christmas Eve, and she was drunk talking to her best friend on the phone. It broke my heart spirit, and that was only the beginning of my awful childhood. Side note, I'm 29 now, and moved out when I was 15 to protect myself. I have no contact with my parents, and I'm fully aware it wasn't my fault I was born, but damn, this memory still fucks me up, good lord. I did not expect this to blow up. The number of replies and private messages is truly touching. Thank you all so much for all the advice, support and well wishes. I had no idea how cathartic openly talking about this bad memory would be. This is the first time I've ever mentioned it to anyone other than my sisters. To anyone who has gone through a similar situation, I feel for you, and I'm here to chat anytime, if you need a friendly ear. Honestly, I teared up sitting here with my pup reading these replies. Happy holidays. Enjoy these awesome pics of my rescue pup. Christmas morning edit, is this for real? Reddit platinum, silver, and gold. My first flare, ever. Thank you so much. You guys made my Christmas. I am blown away by the love and support I've received. The Reddit community is truly amazing. I'm currently trying to catch up to all the questions and messages. Hang in there, I'll try to reply to all of them. Cheers to a wonderful 2019 from Buttons and I. She hates the cold. My best friend's story, not mine, but figured it's worth sharing. We'll call her Carrie. She was born super premature, but she ended up completely fine, like you would never know, unless you saw the pictures of when she was born. Anyways, when she was around 8, she was at the top of the stairs, head peeking through the banister, secretly listening to her parents argue downstairs about how her dad was too hard on her brother for his grades. Her mom says, well, why aren't you that hard on Carrie? She doesn't get straight A's either. And her dad responds, Carrie was born premature, she's probably retarded. At my first internship, I overheard one of my supervisors ask the others if I was genuinely mentally handicapped. That hurt. Yes, she 100% meant what she said, but not in a compassionate way. She not only insulted me, but insulted the undergrad program I came from for sending her someone so incompetent. Nothing I did or didn't do justified her behavior. For example, she'd ask my opinion, then laugh in my face when I gave it. Or tell me a meeting was in one room, when it was in another, and snap at me for not being in the right place. That was 10 years ago. Now I have a few degrees, and am happily employed in the same field at a company that values me. Well, not a mean comment, this comment killed me. I have epilepsy, and I overheard my parents and neurologists talking about some of the effects if my seizures continued, which were basically becoming dependent for everything, short and long-term severe memory loss, and my kite dropping a lot. It really hurt hearing that in a few years I would have gone from honors classes to special ed. Thankfully my seizures have stopped, and the only lasting side effect is some memory loss, but man, that sent me spiraling for a long time. I was sick, septic, dying in the air at the local hospital. I had tubes coming in and out of me. I had IV antibiotics. I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night. My family was at my house, and my niece who was with me called the house and put them on speaker. I heard my mother telling them all how she didn't care about me, never had. She was only there to make sure my nephew was okay, that I got dirty diseases from being gay and sleeping with everyone in town. No, it wasn't an STD. No, I didn't get it from sleeping around. And I haven't bothered with her since. I once overheard my friend's mom telling her son, who was my partner in our canoe trip, that the reason I was complaining about leg pain all day was that I was just wimpy and complain a lot. A few weeks later I found out I had a bone tumor on my leg. So, I was pretty vilified by that, but then again, I did have cancer. All's well now though. Thanks for the upvotes and Merry Christmas. Many people ummed when they heard the news, so there was no need to me to throw it in anybody's face, haha. I saw two girls that I roomed with for a short while in college had been publicly posting on Facebook about how weird, annoying, and disrespectful I was. Their reasoning was that I was taking an 8:30 a.m. class and only weirdos do that, and that I made a shit ton of noise every morning and disrupted their sleep. It hurt because I tried really hard to not be disruptive. I wouldn't let my alarm go off, because I woke up naturally around the time it was scheduled, and would just turn it off before it beeped. This was partially out of anxiety. I changed clothes in the bathroom, tiptoed everywhere, and wouldn't even eat or zip my backpack in the room, because I wanted to be quiet. As far as I knew, neither of them woke up any of those mornings, and they never said anything to me about it. I went to school for a year for baking and pastry arts. There was a program-wide competition, and I was one of the only people in our section that wanted to compete. During an exam, I was waiting for some sugar to boil, so I'm standing by the front of the room at a burner, and the other chef in charge of the competition comes in to talk to our chef. They're whispering to each other for a few seconds, and then I clearly hear our chef say, "Well, it's not that she's bad." He shoulder checks, sees that I'm starting right at him, and they step out of the room. Looking back at it now, they were probably just surprised I had wanted to compete, since I'm definitely not the most outgoing person in the universe, but at the time I was devastated. Given all the really heavy stuff going on in this thread, I'm super lucky and aware that this is a very silly incident. Overheard my mother telling the rest of my family that my baby died because of my negligence. My baby died of SIDS. Wow. So much love. Thank you, internet strangers. For those asking, I did not have a relationship update for with my mother for a year after that was overheard, because she later said it to my face after multiple doctors, funeral directors and therapists explained how SIDS can't be intentionally caused. She knew what it was, and still choose to believe it was my fault. This is also coming from the woman who told me I deserved to be raped when I was 18. So, I wasn't too in shock. Absolutely disgusted and wanted nothing to do with her at the time. As the years have passed, this was September of 2014, it became painfully obvious that she's mentally unstable and can't be trusted to be left to her own devices. No confirmed drug abuse, but many signs. I like to think I'm an understanding and forgiving person, and while I haven't forgiven her for those comments, I do still love her and keep an eye on her. She actually currently lives with me, not the most fun, but I do believe if she did not reside with my husband and I, she'd be homeless and dead. While she may deserve this for the many awful things she's done in my childhood, she's still my mom. I don't want to be the kind of person she's become, so I tolerate her. It's not the best situation, but she doesn't have that much longer to live. Maybe 3 to 5 years. I waited 5 years to heal from my daughter's passing, before getting pregnant again. That was an immediate shock, which was sadly followed by a miscarriage. Complete and utter disbelief in the universe. However, I'm currently in my 2nd trimester with my rainbow baby. Husband and I are very excited. Currently establishing strict boundaries for baby and my mother. We don't want our child exposed to my mother's toxicity. Thanks for listening, and the wonderful support.